Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a step-by-step guide from start to finish on how I'm making stone intarsia. Specifically, we're going to be making this piece right here, which just so happens to be a cool Christmas ornament. And that's what this video is going to be about. Now, a lot of the techniques that I'm going to show here can function across the board. Do you want to frame out a piece? Do you want to make a cabochon? A lot of the fundamentals that I'm going to show you, well, they apply universally. And we're going to be doing this using the High-Tech Diamond 8-inch flat lap, as well as the Intarsia fence that I designed and that I make right here in this shop in Utah. I have these in stock on my website, currently rockhounding.com/shop. You can go pick yourself up one, and you can follow along with this process. There will be chapters below this video with timestamps, so you can skip around and come back to it as a future reference. So, with that said, let's hop into it. Let's make ourselves a Christmas ornament, and I hope you enjoy. For all of my Intarsia pieces, I do like to start with a sketch. So we have kind of my first idea for the ornament. Probably some different colors in there. Maybe it's a little too busy. I have my second kind of idea here for all the different pieces and their connections that I thought was a little much. Now we're kind of coming into what I would like it to be. I did number 5 here. So this green, they're going to be separate pieces out of the same stone, but by offsetting them rather than just making a singular triangle here, it will break up the pattern and offer some more texture, I guess. So number 6 here is what we're going to go with, where we have our red and white inlays, which will kind of be like an ornament, and there will be a faceted stone up at the top, kind of for like, you know, the star of a tree. And I have my piece that duplicates that I'm going to cut out. So let's get these aside here. So the stones, right? The green here, I'm thinking we'll go with this. Now this is serpentine from, I guess, north central Washington. But by doing the same piece, you can see we have that pattern, and that will be offset through those different pieces. So I think that's going to look really, really good. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. I have a lot of different pieces that I could pick from here. I think this is kind of cool. I like the textures of this stone. You know, that's one of the things doing the Intarsia work. You get to be more creative than you typically would get to be. And if you look at Christmas trees in general, there is a lot of pattern and texture to them that we can try to mimic a little bit here. Took the stone outside and gave it a spray with some of this 3M max strength contact adhesive. I am going to put links to everything that you see here down in the description of the video. Now I cut out all of those little paper pieces, and we're going to find where we want these to go here, and we're going to place them. And there we go. Now we'll let this dry. While that dries outside, let's work on our dots. So we're going to do conical inlays for the 3 ornaments. And to do that, we're going to use the 10mm and the 8mm diamond hole saw. And that's what that looks like there. And we're going to use the 10 for making the actual ornament plugs. And we're going to use the 8 to drill the holes there. I've talked about and tried many different things for drilling holes in rocks, and this is still my best that I have came up with. This is the bottom of a tray of tofu with a piece of cardboard in here, a little bit of water, and I hold it by hand and a peck drill, essentially. So it's kind of hard to show, but that's the process. Hey! There's the front, there's the back. There's always a little bit of chip out. There's no worry here. You're not going to see that. Similarly with that one. Now I got these two little plugs, which these are important. We will be saving those possibly for a future project. And you can see here, can I just get that out with my fingers? I might have to grab something to pop it out, but these are hollow. So, oh, there we go. So that you can just pop them out if they do get stuck. So we are trucking along here. We got our little pieces of our tree, and we're going to cut these out on the trim saw. Over here at the 10-inch trim saw, I have a super, super thin blade on here. It's a Jingling Chinese import, like 19 bucks on Amazon. It does a killer job for fine trim work just like this. You don't want to go cutting thunder eggs with it, but for this, it will do really, really well and produce a very nice, smooth cut. And we're going to get close to the line, but not to the line. Once again, that's the reference, and here's where we're at. You can kind of see the tree shape, right? What we need to do now is clean up these matching surfaces so that we can get them, well, attached, and then the outside will be all rough, and then we'll clean up that. So now we get to do the actual Intarsia work, which that's like the fun part, if you ask me. So I'm gonna get the fence all set up here so that we can have our perfect 90s so that we can make those joining connections on the stones. I do like to do all of my Intarsia work with a well-worn 180 wheel, and that just prevents any kind of real chip out. If you don't have a well-worn 180 wheel, well, a 220 wheel is kind of like a 180. So I would move up to a 220. Just checking, making sure we're a dead 90 here and we're good. It's a handy little machinist square. I'm pressing the back of the stone up against the fence and bringing it down. I'm just going to creep up on that line. You can see my connections are looking good. I'm just kind of creeping up on them, and we're obtaining that triangular shape out of our different pieces. And once I creep up to those just how I want it, we'll leave the perimeter kind of wild, like a live edge, if you will, and glue all of these pieces together so that it will now be one uniform piece. This here is a super cheap candle warmer, and on that we're going to set our pieces here that we want to completely dry out so that we can glue those matching edges together. We're going to start doing some assembly here, which that's really fun, and I'm going to be using Bob Smith Industries extra thick CA glue with their Insta Setter. Our stones over here are dry. I'll just click that off. We're going to clean all of our glued surfaces. I just have a little mason jar here that I keep some isopropyl alcohol in, and that is really nice for this. You can see here I have a piece of glass, and on that glass is a piece of wax paper. And the reason for this is that makes for a very nice dead flat surface to do glue up on. Let's get these guys off here. They're dry, dry, dry. So I think probably the best way to go about this is to do your lineup, and there's no simple way. CA glue on, hold it together, and then spray your activator on, and that's that. So so I'm just gluing up the one surface. Get it just where you want it. You press it, hold it, spray it, keep holding it for like just a little bit as that fully activates. And there we go. We're gonna repeat that for the next ones. Not bad progress. The next step is we're going to clean up all of these edges and get up to our paper line, flatten the back, and then we can flatten the front, and that will take off all of our paper and adhesive. And that's kind of the fun step because it really starts to look good and look kind of like our project. One problem that you might run into is holding your stone flat on the lap. You have a couple of options. You can always just turn it off and let the lap stop. I do like to put a little tab of painter's tape. This is just like some green painter's tape. So I can hold it here, I can hold it here and pick it up and check and pick it up and check. So that's kind of my process for this, because we're at the point now where we need to grind off all of that glue and paper. I think I'm going to actually flip it. So the back side's now the top side. I like that orientation a little bit better. So here we are, all nice and cleaned up. Now these sides don't need to be perfect yet because, well, what I did off camera was I took my 12 millimeter hole saw here and I drilled out some jasper and I drilled out some dolomite. And those plugs I CA glued onto some nails because we need to make the plugs for this, which will be the ornaments. And putting two cylinders together, you know, having the ID of this match the OD of that is very, very difficult. So what we're going to do here is, rather than that, we're going to, you know, we have our hole drilled through the rock, okay? And we're going to make these cylinders into a cone because a cone can fill that very nicely. So when we come in and grind off the top, it will be entirely flat and it will look, hopefully, fingers crossed, seamless. And the way we're going to do that is with my old beat up Milwaukee drill. we're gonna chuck one of these guys up and we're gonna head over to the lap and we're gonna spin it. Then I'm gonna fit check it. Do a little bit more. These are the cones. You can see how it fits in there and how that will look on the back side. To get these off, since we used CA glue, we're going to soften that up with some acetone, which this can take a while, unfortunately, but we want to get these off in a safe way. We don't want to break anything, so into the acetone they go. That can take several hours. When we look at other forms of art, you know, great sculptors, great painters, the thing that they can do with that art form is develop a style, right? Develop a name for themselves, have a body of work that represents them. And generally in the world of lapidary, we don't get that. You know, if you're doing small scale subtractive forms of lapidary, like making cabochons as an example, you could take the 10 greatest cabochon makers and throw their cabochons into a hat and pull one out, and you would not be able to recognize the artist. You can't identify their work. However, when it comes to doing Intarsia work, you can. You can develop a style that's unique to yourself. You can build a body of work that is recognizable to you, and that is something that is really missing in the world of lapidary, the world of stonework, whatever you want to call it, is the ability to make a name for yourself. Now, for a lot of people, maybe you don't care about that, but I think there's something to be said about saying, Jared made this. You can identify it. You can be like, Nikolai Medvedev, this is his work. There's value to that. And that has not really been talked about or pursued much in the lapidary world. I encourage you, though, to think about additive forms of lapidary. Think about stone Intarsia work. Think of Pietrodora and consider what you could do with these tools that you probably already have. That trim saw, that flat lap, that cab machine, you know, which is just a bunch of spinning wheels, right? Think about what you could do that has never been seen before. You know, one plume agate 30 by 60 oval domed cabochon looks like another one. There's only going to be one of these, right? There's only going to be one Christmas tree ornament that I'm making for my tree. You can copy it, but you're not going to make it exact. There's a style that could be developed. There's bodies of work that can be made, and just consider it. Let's get back to the project. Those little cones look like. I'm going to clean them up. Same as a lot of the stuff, with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. And we're going to clean the holes here. So we're going to do red, white, red. And to do this, what I want to do is we got to hold them in like slightly. And we're going to do that with some CA glue, because we need to backfill the void with a little bit of epoxy, because we want this to be strong and we don't want any voids. So let's see if we can do this. It's a little tough, and very likely I'm going to get CA glue on my hand. You know, it only needs to hold long enough for us to put epoxy on it. So basically not that long. And you can see now what that looks like. So we're going to pour epoxy into the back of this. It doesn't have to be straight. It's going to get ground flat. Those voids will get filled now. And to do that, we're going to be using Bob Smith Industries Slow Cure Epoxy. It's just equal parts. We don't need a lot here. These guys are just about done. Really get it in there, make sure there's no big bubbles or anything like that, and it will get ground totally flat later. And we'll give that 24 hours. The epoxy is all dry now, and we need to flatten both sides of this, because one of the critical steps here is to produce a backing stone so that we have a little more meat to work with, as well as it supports all of these individual stones. So we have some epoxy here on the back. That'll be the last step. Let's flatten this nice and carefully on the 180 wheel. We're at somewhat of a critical stage here. This is the back of the stone, and it needs to be perfectly flat so that the backing stone, these match up and there's no seam in between them, or as little as possible. So I got this pretty flat, and as you already saw, this has a pencil drawn on it. I'll do all the both. Once the pencil's gone, we can epoxy the two together. This just ensures that it is in fact dead, super flat. I didn't do 100% on the front, which is fine. This is the important step here. We can work on the front more once we finish the stone, or we get into, climbing that polishing ladder. These are the two mating surfaces that will go like that. This is your last chance to check your flatness between the two. They've been cleaned with alcohol. So we're going to mix up the epoxy, and this is how I'm going to be clamping them. It's one little C-clamp holding another C-clamp, and that kind of keeps it in the vertical orientation, right? And we will compress these two together. Not super tight, just like a light level of tightness, you don't want to crack one of your stones right now. Perfect. It's okay. Some will squeeze out, and you probably have some extra left, which that's also good, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. You don't want too much on here. Some squeeze out is going to be fine and inevitable, but what we don't want is it's kind of like, hydroplane, right? Let's put this on here, and we'll kind of squeeze it around, make sure we get some everywhere we want it. And using the clamps now, stick this in here. And it's going to want to kind of move around a little. You'll feel some of the squeeze out taking place. There we are, all glued up. Do not take it out of the clamps for 24 hours. Not worth it. Just leave it be. I like doing the C-clamps versus one of these things. These like pony clamps. They have a tendency to squeeze out in a direction versus this, it's just like too compressing. So 24 hours and we'll get back to it. We're all good and dry here, and one of the ways I know that is I saved the cup here, and I can touch inside there and check and make sure this did a full good cure. The next steps are they're a little boring. We're gonna trim this up on the trim saw, get it close, and we're gonna grind this to a dimensional shape, you know, squaring up all the sides, clean up the face, and get everything to a nice 180 grit finish. That cleaned up nicely, I think. You can see the back there. There's the front with our inlaid dots. Now, there's a couple of things to know here. Sharp angles like this do not fare very well over time. So I am going to round these out, okay? And I'm not going to show you every polishing step, but I will write down my polishing sequence. I use mostly electroplated laps here, and then I move into fiber resin laps like this one. That's like a 220. So I will share my lap sequence, but I'm probably going to round these edges with this 260 and get the profile kind of finished. I'm going to want to avoid spending a lot of time on the front here, because the more time spent over those inlays, the worse they're going to look. So it's really a touch off to get previous scratches off, and it's not holding it there for very long. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. To round the edges on my pieces, I just place the stone flat and then rock up over to that edge. And it's really that simple. I'm just trying to get rid of that sharp 90 degree, because that's the last thing that you want. It'll chip out, it'll snag on things, and I don't think it looks very good. So on to the polishing sequence. I did 180 electroplated, 260 electroplated, then everything was fiber resin. I did 220 fiber resin, 325, 600, 1200, 3000, and then a cerium oxide embedded resin lap. Now, I don't recommend you do any type of liquid polishes like, you know, ZAM, tin oxide, cerium oxide, anything like that with any Intarsia work, because there will be little tiny specks of that polish in your seams of your stones, and there's no getting it out. You know, there's no ultrasonic or high pressure water jet or scrubbing that will get it out. It will work its way in, and it will just be there. And, you know, prove me wrong, somebody, but that's been my experience. So I just avoid it altogether, because at this point, I'm so invested in this as a project. I don't want to screw it up by trying to get a marginally better polish on a piece. And here we go. There was some off-camera progress made. You can see we have the little trunk of the tree here. I used a piece of tiger eye, and I took it up just to a 1200 grit. I think that looks nice. And we have a little reveal here, which I think looks good as well. I was thinking of maybe like topping the tree, if you will, somehow. This is all the faceted stones that I have. Like, this is some quartz here. And, you know, I think I'm just going to not do that. It seems a little bit too much, I don't know, of an afterthought, I guess. So I'm going to put these aside. We do need a way of hanging this thing on a tree. And, well, I don't exactly have a lot of like jewelry expertise in things, but I think I do have this copper fitting. This is probably the part that you don't want to necessarily follow along with too much, but yeah, I think I can make a glue-on bale for the back of this from this. So let's give that a shot. Well, that doesn't look too bad. It is significantly softer. Let's give it a cut and just see how soft it is. Wow, that just came right off real quick. Kind of what I'm thinking is it just needs a flat back, right? A little flat back, and then to come up into a little loop and connect back down. And I think we can get all of this stuff off of it. What is it, like some kind of oxide? Shouldn't be too big of a deal. And I can cut it with some snips here. So definitely doesn't need to be big. After some silicon carbide sandpaper, piece of steel, and well, a dead blow, I have a piece of copper that's soft enough to bend and not too terribly beat up, and I think that will fit just fine on the back side of the piece. If we imagine this back here, right, as a little like curled piece epoxied on, it could then get hung. So let's see, that should be the side that's glued up. So we want to curl this way, on there. There we go. Okay, so now we have a little loop, and I think I can just kind of smush that down, maybe with the other one. Well, after all of that work, here are the results. And I am very pleased with how this came out. I think it looks fantastic. It's a fun little heirloom piece that I get to break out every single December. And I think I'll probably make this a little bit of a tradition here, where I get to make a cool Christmas ornament, cool Intarsia Christmas ornament once a year. And all done with the Intarsia fence, which is available up on my website, and the flat lap. You know, it just goes to show what a little bit of creativity can accomplish doing stonework. You can make something unique and interesting that has never been seen before. So, with that said, we'll leave this one here. Let me know your thoughts on what I made, Intarsia in general. Are you gonna give it a shot? I would highly recommend it. I enjoy making things like this, and I hope you enjoy making them too. Thanks, and I will catch you on the next video.